In a war, you give everything you have. That makes you an Avenger. How about that?
So Iron Man seems like a fun character to tackle because he's one of the superheroes that's as popular inside the suit as out, and there's quite a few times where he's both in this film. Where do you begin doing your job?
Well, we always have to figure out, with each movie, this is my third time around with Iron Man, the challenge is always how to make him suit up and suit down interestingly. You know, it evolves from each movie. You know, he was, in the first movie, he's in one little location. In the second movie, he's spinning around. In this one, the people at Marvel are like, let's have him walking. and that creates new challenges every time. Putting the CG armor on Robert is always not the easiest thing to do. We have to match his action and then put on the armor and then figure out how to take it off. So that was one of our many challenges on the show, including, you know, doing digital versions of all the Avengers, including the Hulk.
So you get to help the Hulk smash things, which sounds like a pretty exciting job.
Yeah, that's kind of a dream come true, right, for a visual effects project. I think, you know, not only getting to create the Hulk, but then, you know, getting to do a Hulk where he's jumping around, you know, beating aliens and smashing through buildings it's a lot of fun.
It's a different take on the Hulk than we've seen before. What sets this aside in the origins of it?
You know, I think that there's a nice split in the movie in terms of the first time the Hulk appears, he's very much the Hulk that appears because, you know, something's upset Banner and he can't control it. The second time he appears, Joss talked to us a lot about the fact that he's deciding to become the Hulk, and that's really kind of a new thing for him, and it was really exciting for us to do. And it ended up being a moment in the film where we went like 1,000 frames per second slow motion, so you could see Banner turn into the Hulk as he's going to punch the Leviathan. You know, that's the kind of shot that we love working on.
So I guess start by telling me, where does one begin by building a digital New York City?
Well, the first thing that we did for building New York is to look at the previs and figure out where we were going to need our digital New York. So the previs worked out a lot of where we would need to be, what roads we'd be flying down, and then also what areas we might need to see a lot of different camera angles, such as down in the viaduct. We used that information to plan out a massive photo shoot. We sent 4 teams of photographers to New York for 8 weeks. And they went ground level and up on cranes and up on the tops of buildings and shot 275,000 different photos of New York in all different directions, creating kind of like Google Street View spheres that we could take back to ILM, solve into our digital model of New York, and then that image could be sprayed onto our digital model. So we used all that photography to generate our textures for digital New York.
How much leeway do you have to sort of build around New York before it stops looking like New York?
Yeah, making it look like New York was one of the big challenges for us. So one of the things that we did is those 275,000 photos, we took out some of our favorites that felt like New York. And we also drove a camera around New York on the top of a car and filmed people going about their business and, you know, the buildings and how they actually look in real life. And we had those things in a directory here at ILM that we would always look to while we were building New York to make sure that we were staying in that New York flavor. And it didn't hurt that we had a couple of New Yorkers on our crew, so we could go to them and say, "Are we there yet?" And they'd say, "No, that's not New York yet." And then we'd, you know, work on it a little more.
We also get to see both the Mark VI and the Mark VII. Do you have a preference for one or the other?
Well, you know, I have a soft spot for the Mark VI. I think it's a beautiful design. It's very simplistic. It's not simplistic. It has a good silhouette. But the Mark VII, you know, Joss really wanted to kind of elevate what Iron Man can do while fighting. And that meant adding the backpack for the Mark VII. And that allows him to free his hands from not hovering or flying and then using them as weapons. That was, as an animator, that was hugely relieving for all of us because we could get some better poses and better action out of it.
Behind the scenes, it seems like there's a certain Avengers assembly going on as well, with different people doing different special effects characters.
Yeah.
What's the crossover with when you have Iron Man have to meet the Hulk?
Well, in terms of animating the characters, I will let people know what they're animating. I have ultimate say about who animates what. But You know, we find we have a super great crew. We had a crew of about 32 people here at ILM. About a dozen people in our Singapore branch. And I get to say, you know what, I think you're going to do really great with this Hulk shot. You're going to do this Iron Man shot. If they're both in the same scene together, we'll have one animator doing both. And so it's sort of, you know, it's who's the perfect fit for this shot.
Does anything change in the models between the angrier Hulk and the more heroic Hulk?
Yeah, well, I think this Hulk, you know, Joss wanted us to go for more of a wrestler physique, so he's not 100% ripped all the time. Like, he's actually a little soft around the corners, and he's got just a touch of belly bulge, which I think adds a lot of credibility to him looking real. And the fact that we're able to put hair all over him, I mean, he's got chest hair and back hair and ear hair, you know. It's all those little subtle kind of human imperfections that I think help take some of that CG curse off of him.
The Hulk has a couple of moments in the film that really steal the show. Were those things that were in the script the whole time, or were they sort of came along during the process?
They were in right from the very beginning of when we got involved. You know, both the punch and him slamming Loki were something that were in the very early previs, and I think works so well in the movie because there's all this, you know, high action, huge visual effect shots, and then you kind of have these quiet moments where the Hulk gets to be exactly who you want him to be.
Hulk, smash.
How do we do this?
As a team. We're not finished yet. Guys, I'm bringing the party to you.